in front of the camera, behind the fear of being forgotten. In a world where lighter skin and a higher nose bridge can determine a career, many black artists have had to do the unspeakable cut themselves to stay. A TV actress, once a symbol of intelligence and charisma, returned to the screen with a strangely shiny forehead. A male funk singer, known for his dusty style, suddenly disappeared for 6 months, then returned with a face that fans could not recognize. What you are about to witness is not about makeup or style. It is 23 painful and tragic journeys behind silent remakes. Behind those changes of appearance are social wounds, prejudices, and the pain of being deprived of natural beauty. Prepare yourself for a journey of discovery full of heartache. Bravely watch until the end of the video, and don't hesitate to share your feelings in the comments section. 23. Melba Moore, the woman who changed her nose, changed her destiny. They called her the woman with the nose of her career, not because of her beauty, but because of the rumors that have never stopped since 1970. Melba Moore, a resounding Broadway singer, Tony Award winner, once stood side by side with the most famous stars of the era. But behind the red velvet curtain, her life was a series of days fighting prejudice, disappointment, and invisible pressure from Hollywood's gaze. When Melba was young, she was invited to audition for a new sitcom that was broadcast on national television. But in her first meeting with the director, she heard a chilling sentence: "You have talent, but your face is not suitable for national broadcast." 3 weeks later, everyone in the industry was surprised to see that Melba's face looked different. Her nose became slimmer, more compact, and more standard. And coincidentally, she got the role. From then on, her career began to flourish, but rumors also began to haunt her. An old friend of hers, a singer of the same generation, recalled in a 1985 interview Melba used to sit quietly in the dressing room, touch her new nose, and sigh, "If only I didn't have to change my face to be myself." Many of her loyal fans said that from that moment on, they felt Melba became more distant. Not because she changed her personality, but because they no longer recognized the pained eyes of the woman who once sang as if she were telling her own life story. People asked, does she regret it? Melba never answered, but in an interview in the late 90s, when asked about beauty, she only said one sentence: "True beauty is when you don't need permission to be yourself." Maybe she made the right choice to survive in a harsh world. But the audience, especially the older generation, still painfully remembers the original face. A face that has never had to compromise. And sometimes, we wonder with a voice like that, does it need to change its face? 22. Billy Preston, the man who returned from the collision and lost his old face. They call him the Talking Hammond. Billy Preston, who played for the Beatles, Rolling Stones, and was the unruly funk soul of the 20th century. But few people know that a car accident in 1972 not only nearly took his life, but also took away the image that the whole world once loved. Before the accident, Billy was a street artist with curly hair, a mischievous smile, and wild eyes. But after the car crash in Los Angeles, he disappeared from television for nearly a year, when he reappeared in a 1973 performance. Many people couldn't believe their eyes. His cheekbones were gaunt, his jaw was sharp, and his nose had been refined. Many fans asked, was the accident that serious? Or did he take the opportunity to change himself? A lighting technician who worked with him recalled that Billy sat alone in front of a mirror backstage for a long time, then chuckled. They said, "This new face is more marketable, but the old face is mine." A black journalist in Chicago wrote Billy Preston didn't just survive the crash, he was torn in two. A pure artist and an icon who had to be refined to appeal to white audiences. He never confirmed that he had had any facial surgery, but the change was undeniable. Was it reconstructive surgery, or was it a commercial decision? The answer lies in his grave, where no one asks about his nose. Only remembers the sobbing keys like the silent cry of a generation being molded to survive. Billy left a silent lesson: artists are not just musicians, they are also people who fight every day with their image. 21. Miki Howard, the beauty with a reborn face. If there is someone who makes the audience exclaim, "Who is she?" after only a few years of her career, it is Miki Howard. Her voice is smooth, feminine, but full of power. But what makes the audience both fascinated and skeptical is not just her singing, but her face that becomes increasingly strange with each album cover. In the early 80s, Mickey was a brown-skinned girl with soft features, a round chin, and dreamy eyes. But in 1986, in the MV Come Share My Love, the audience was surprised by her sharp eyes, unexpectedly pointed chin, and cold demeanor. Many people think that she had chin implants and eyelid lifts to transform. That day, everyone on the crew was confused, recalls a makeup artist who worked with her. Mickey's face was so beautiful that they couldn't decide what kind of makeup to wear. It felt like Mickey had abandoned softness for sharpness, not because she wanted to, but because the industry demanded it, says a music journalist. Older audiences began to feel nostalgic. She was beautiful, but I miss her original beauty. The question is, does Mickey regret it years later? When she made a film about her own life, Mickey made no mention of surgery, but in a line near the end of the film, she says, "I used to want to be so beautiful that no one could deny it. Now, I just wish I could sit quietly in a room and still be accepted." Her face may have changed, but the haunting ballads remain, and sometimes, in that song, the audience still finds the image of a brown-skinned girl who never needed to change anything to be worthy of love. 20. Clifton Davis, the angel face hidden behind a standard smile. In the 70s, everyone knew about Clifton Davis's elegant face and warm smile. He was once known as the angel face of black television. Not only was he a singer, but he also wrote music for the Jackson 5 and was famous for his leading role in the sitcom Amen. But behind that image of a gentleman was a person who suffered from deep obsessions about his appearance. Born into a traditional family in Chicago, Clifton always lived with the feeling of not being beautiful enough to be loved. In a rare interview in 1992, he revealed that he was teased by his classmates for his long chin and crooked teeth. That feeling of shame followed him throughout his youth. When he entered Hollywood, the pressure was even greater. A producer once said bluntly, "You have acting talent, but your face lacks the perfection that audiences expect." In 1974, he disappeared from the screen for nearly 6 months. When he returned on an evening TV show, the audience was surprised. His chin looked slimmer. His smile became even and sculpted, although not officially announced. Insiders believed that he had undergone jaw and teeth surgery. A close colleague said, "Clifton never admitted it, but I saw the way he looked in the mirror, quietly, as if he was still not used to himself." The audience's reaction was mixed. Some praised him for looking younger and more confident, but others felt a sense of loss. "I loved his crooked smile. It was real, it was warm." Clifton continued to be successful professionally, but he became more reserved in interviews. His life then turned to religion and charity work, as if he were searching for something deeper than his appearance. The new chin may have helped him stand firm in the face of the glitz, but many audiences still remember the boy with the original, flawed but genuine smile. The change may have been necessary, but the question still lingers: does he ever miss his old face? The face that knew pain, knew laughter, and knew how to love completely. 19. Freda Payne, the Queen and the Knife on Her Neck. When Freda Payne took the stage and sang Band of Gold, she not only captivated the ears, but also touched a generation. With her classic beauty, deep brown eyes, and melancholy voice, Freda was considered the soul queen of early 1970s R&B. But few people knew that behind the stage lights, she had experienced pain hidden behind makeup. Freda grew up poor in Detroit. She once said that throughout her childhood, she was haunted by her genetic neck wrinkles. When she entered the entertainment industry, many directors advised her to wear scarves, keep close-up shots of her face, and avoid turning her head too much. Gradually, the whisper spread, a true diva cannot let her neck betray her youth. Freda heard it all. A former assistant recalled the moment she returned from a vacation in Palm Springs in 1978. Her face was unchanged, but her neck looked smooth and shiny under the lights. She no longer needed a scarf, and for the first time, she stepped onto the stage wearing a dress with a daring, plunging neckline. Although never admitted, this change was seen as an image liberation. The reaction, however, was not entirely positive. One veteran critic wrote, "Freda is now a statuesque beauty, but I miss those wrinkles. They once told the story of a woman who suffered and still sang. After that, she appeared less in public. Some said she became cold, but those close to her knew that Freda was still Freda. She just chose to be more silent. Looking back today, it is undeniable that her appearance has changed. But what people miss is her courage when a woman dared to take back her body from the hands of prejudice. And if there is a message, perhaps it is sometimes, we have to change to survive. But don't forget to keep the soul that never needed to be edited. 18. Jean Karn, the stage babysitter. Jean Karn was once called the woman who never ages. With her colorful, soulful voice and timeless charisma, she has been a jazz soul icon, captivating audiences since the 1970s. But what's surprising is not just her music, it's her appearance that has remained virtually unchanged for 3 decades. When Jean turned 40, many of her contemporaries began to retire, but she still appeared on television, on stage, with a radiant face like in her 20s, recently. A cosmetic specialist in Atlanta revealed that Jean once came in for a very light rhinoplasty, not to change but to preserve. The surgery was performed quietly and discreetly, just like her lifestyle. A close colleague recalled Jean never talked about her age, but I remember one afternoon, when the sunlight was streaming through the window, she touched the bridge of her nose and whispered, "I'm afraid that one day I won't look like myself anymore." The change did not come from a desire to stand out, but from a desire to hold on to the past, to hold on to the gazes that the audience once gave her. The audience murmured, "How can she look like that at 60? Some were skeptical, others admired, but most sympathized Jean was not trying to be someone else. She just wanted to hold on to a time that had passed. In her final performances, Jean often sang "Don't Let It Go to Your Head" with her eyes closed, as if whispering to herself. Her story reminds us that beauty is not just about what we have, but also how we hold on to it with gratitude and fear of losing it. And if there is anything that makes Jean Karn immortal in the hearts of listeners, it is the courage to hold on to the beauty of her soul, even if it means using a little bit of surgery. 17. Millie Jackson, the rebellion who changed her cheek. Millie Jackson was once considered the most daring voice among black female artists. With her powerful voice and unabashed lyrics, she set the stage ablaze in the 1970s. But Millie's rebellion was not just in her music, it was in her appearance, a fierce, unpredictable face, and, in the words of many, unlike anyone else. Millie's success was accompanied by scandal. The white media called her too much, too loud, too masculine, too angular. One music editor once wrote, "Millie has a hot voice, but her face is too angular to be a real diva." Such comments haunted Millie more than any scandal. By the mid-1980s, many viewers began to notice changes in her face: a slimmer jawline, higher cheekbones, a different expression. A stylist who worked on the recording of the album Hot Wild Unrestricted said, "I remember the first time I saw her after a while. I didn't recognize her. I thought I had walked into the wrong room." The obvious change caused a stir among the public. People couldn't understand why would someone who had challenged the norm change herself to fit in. Some thought she had surgery because she was tired of being criticized. Others believed she simply wanted to control everything, including her face. But everyone felt disappointed. A longtime fan said through tears, "I loved Millie when she was smiling with that raw, fierce face. Now she's prettier, but she's not my Millie." Millie has never talked about surgery. She continued to sing, perform, and rebel. But her face will forever be a question mark, a testament to the price of fame in a world that does not accept authentic black beauty. Her story is a mirror of injustice, that even the most rebellious person sometimes falters before a beauty standard that does not apply to them. And that is worth pondering. 16. Phyllis Hyman, the surgery eyes cannot hide the sad. Phyllis Hyman was a voice too beautiful, too strong, too sad to be forgotten. She had a noble appearance, eyes that told a story, and a loneliness that permeated every song. But it was also her eyes that people first noticed the change. Phyllis was once rejected by producers because she looked too sad, not suitable for the bright pop market. A former assistant at Arista said, "They once told her, 'Do something with your eyelids. You look like you've been crying your whole life.'" A few months later, viewers saw Phyllis appear on television with a new look, wide, sparkling, but lacking the depth that had haunted people. She never admitted to having surgery, but a close friend recalled Phyllis told me the doctor just did a little tweak to make her look more cheerful. But afterwards, she felt like she was wearing a mask. The small change quickly led to suspicions. Audiences said she looked strange, emotionless. One critic commented she still sang well, but her face didn't match the pain in the songs, and that isolated Phyllis even more. She once wrote in her diary, "I don't know who I am when the lights go out." In 1995, Phyllis took her own life at the age of 45, leaving behind a beautiful musical legacy, but also a question mark about the price of always looking perfect. Her eyes still appear in old videos, but they are not what they used to be. They are a testament to a silent battle, when a black artist has to choose between being real and being pleasing to the eye. And that is the tragedy of an entertainment industry that has never accepted real tears. 15. Vesta Williams, the girl who left her face in the ADS. Vesta Williams has a voice that gives people goosebumps from the first sentence. She possesses the vocal power of Whitney but is unlucky to be supported. Her appearance was also criticized as too big, too real, too dark. Entering the late 80s. The audience was surprised to see a completely different Vesta on the cover of the album Vesta for You. Her cheekbones were slim, her eyes were sharp, and her chin was smaller. Some fans wrote to ask, "What did you do to your face?" A stylist in the industry said she just wanted to look neater, to be easier on TV. The rapid change helped Vesta get noticed again, but it also made many people feel lost. "Vesta now looks like a carbon copy of herself," wrote one journalist. A friend said she once admitted to having had surgery and minor injections to feel allowed to be in the industry. Vesta continued to sing, but was always associated with the image of trying to be someone else. It was not until she died in 2011 that people began to talk more about her. Not about the scandal, but about the price she paid for trying to appear in Hollywood. Vesta once said black people are never allowed to be old, fat, or real. I just want to exist. That quote is now a legacy greater than any song. 14. Donnie Simpson, the Mac with the emotionless smile. Donnie Simpson was once a national face, with his bright smile, warm eyes, and charming voice. He was not only the host of Video Soul, but also the friendliest symbol of black television in the 1980s. But his fame also put him at the center of expectations. To always be radiant, not to age, not to tire. Around 1996, some observant viewers noticed that Donnie looked different. His eyelids were higher, his jawline was sharper, although he never mentioned it. Rumors of eyelid lifts and jaw surgery spread. A former colleague recalled one day, Donnie came on set, and immediately people backed away. They said, "That smile is glued to your face." Audiences began to react. Many felt disconnected. One commented, "I used to see Donnie as a trustworthy friend. Now I don't know who I'm looking at." He gradually withdrew, no longer appearing as much as before, in a rare moment of sharing. Donnie simply said, "I used to believe that if I looked good enough, I would be kept longer." The change helped him continue to be chosen to host the show. But sometimes, he was like a mask of himself, smiling without warmth, talking without intimacy. The question always quietly followed, does he regret it? No one knows, but many viewers regret it. Some people do not need to change to be loved, and Donnie, despite choosing a different path, still reminds us of the time when television was real, human, and emotional. 13. Patti LaBelle, New Eyes and Old Pain. Patti LaBelle is an irreplaceable voice, an icon, a warrior on stage and in life. But as she approaches 50, the spotlight on stage sometimes shines on human limitations, including her eyes. Patti once openly said she had eyelid surgery to improve her vision. But then the public started whispering. Many said her face was no longer the same. People were whispering, said a dancer on her tour. They said she looked like someone else. It wasn't Patti who made them cry on stage. Patti's new eyes were sharper, her face looked younger, but she also lost the tiredness that made her human. Once at a press conference, a young reporter asked, "How do you feel when you no longer look like yourself?" Patti laughed loudly, but did not answer. The public was divided. Some said she had the right to change to feel better. Others exclaimed, I remember the look in your eyes in 1978. It spoke to my heart, and the question lingered, did she regret it? Maybe no one knows. But one thing is certain, true beauty is not in the eyelids. It lies in the memories that those eyes left in the hearts of the viewers. Patty is still Patty, but somewhere inside us, we still regret something that was lost. 12. Jermaine Jackson, the most unreadable face of the Jacksons. Jermaine Jackson was once a soul idol, with his handsome looks, calm demeanor, and deep voice. He was the epitome of masculinity during the Jacksons' heyday, but as the years passed, Jermaine's face changed in a way that was hard to fathom. His nose became smaller, his jaw became sharper, his skin became waxy. It was no longer a natural look of aging, but a transformation that left audiences bewildered. "I saw Jermaine in person in 1999, said one loyal fan. "I wasn't sure it was him. There was something cold and strange about him." There was no official statement, but the media kept asking. A plastic surgeon told a newspaper there are signs of jaw surgery, rhinoplasty, and light fillers around the cheeks, and a black editor wrote bluntly, "Jermaine looks like a different version of himself, as if he's been pushed out of his past and can't find his way back." Jermaine rarely responded. He still goes to shows, still performs, but the familiarity is gone. Some say he changed because of competition in a family with too many legends. Others say it is the vestige of a person who once tried to hold on to the fading glory. We do not know if he regrets it or not, but we do know one thing. The most invisible knife wounds often leave scars in the hearts of fans, and in the entertainment world. Sometimes the scariest thing is not old age, but when people no longer recognize themselves. It is wonderful that you are still here, accompanying each painful and regretful story. Some faces were once icons, now become mysteries that no one dares to ask. But in the end, what do you think is more cruel, the surgical knife cuts, or the eyes of the audience when they are no longer satisfied with the true appearance of a black person? 11. Janet Hubert, a new mother in an old house. Janet Hubert was once America's most beloved black mother through her role as Vivian Banks in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. She was smart, strict, and full of love. But few people knew that behind the stage lights were the silent pains of self-esteem and isolation. After leaving the show abruptly, Janet almost disappeared from television. Years later, when she returned to the air, the audience was surprised. Her forehead was shiny, her features were stiff, and her smile lost its softness. Rumors spread quickly she had Botox injections and a forehead lift to renew her image. A former colleague said Janet has always been obsessed with aging in the public eye, after what she has lost. Fans had mixed reactions. Some sympathized, but others said, "She's not the Vivian I knew." Janet kept quiet. But in a later interview she said, "If you've been hurt long enough, you'll do anything to feel stronger, even change your face." That face brought her back to the public. But it also symbolized what black women had to sacrifice to survive in the entertainment industry. And perhaps what we should remember most about Janet, not her tense forehead, but the strength of someone who refused to be erased. 10. Diana Ross, the beautiful who never looks the same. Diana Ross is an icon. She was the lead singer of the Supremes, the first star to break racial barriers on American television, and a beauty icon for a generation. But what has kept the public talking is not just her fame, it's the extraordinary changes in her face over time. Since the 80s, people have begun to notice changes in Diana's face. Her eyes are wider, her nose is narrower, and her cheekbones are fuller. A member of the makeup team said, "Every time we see her, we have to adjust our style. She's not the same person she was 3 months ago." Rumors of plastic surgery have been circulating, but Diana has never confirmed them. Fans are confused. She's still gorgeous, still powerful, but there's something aloof about her. A veteran audience member said, "I love her, but every time I look back at old photos, I regret, because her old beauty was so special. She didn't need to be like anyone else." Perhaps it was the pressure to maintain the image of an unchanging goddess that pushed Diana into the vicious cycle of ageless beauty. Her face became a big question that has never been answered, but every time she appeared, her eyes still contained something that time or surgery could not erase: pride. And that is the reason why she is still Diana Ross, no matter how many times she changed. I'm Natalie Cole, the successor who created a new face. As the daughter of the legendary Nat King Cole, Natalie Cole carries within her a huge musical legacy and immeasurable pressure. She has battled addiction, illness, and constant comparisons to her late father. As she rose to fame with her voice and won a Grammy, audiences thought Natalie had finally found her identity. But her face began to change. By the late 1990s, her nose was slimmer, her cheekbones higher, her chin sharper. "I thought she was beautiful, but I also saw sadness," said one interviewer. It was like she was trying to prove something. Rumors of surgery to escape her father's shadow spread. Fans were confused. Some said she had the right to do whatever it took to feel confident. Others lamented, "I loved the old, shy, rustic look it made Natalie real." When she died in 2015, many began to look back not just at her recordings, but at her bitter journey of change. Natalie once sang, "This will be an everlasting love," with a half smile. Perhaps she was never completely satisfied with herself. But what people remember is not the nose, but the will to step out of the great shadow to become yourself, no matter how many times that face changes. 8. Stephanie Mills, the beautiful voice but the face changes. Stephanie Mills is one of the most powerful and emotional black voices of the 20th century. From a very young age, she was called too small, too rough to be considered beautiful by Hollywood standards. When she turned 30, audiences began to notice the change. Her large and hard nose became smaller, her chin became sharper and thinner. A member of the recording team said, "No one asked, but everyone looked." The public was in an uproar. Some complimented her for being more radiant. Others said, "I love your real nose. It says you are a real black woman." Stephanie sacrificed her identity for acceptance. One critic said, "In an industry that whitens beauty, she seems to want to be seen as everyone else." And that's heartbreaking. When an artist like Stephanie has to change her face to stay in the spotlight, it's no longer a choice, it's a plea for survival. 7. Lionel Richie, the smile that never ages. Lionel Richie is the man who made the world smile with his songs, but he also confused audiences when his face remained unchanged for 3 decades. By the early 2000s, the public began to talk. Tight, wrinkle-free skin, stubborn cheekbone movements, rumors of Botox and facelifts were all over the press. A close colleague recalled, "He used to say, 'If I get old, they call me old-fashioned. If I keep my face young, they say I'm not real.'" The public was divided. Some saw him as youthful, others felt disconnected. "That smile has no emotion," said a middle-aged audience member. "It's preserved, but it's not alive." Lionel still sings, still performs, still succeeds. But that face raises a bigger question: is it true that in this entertainment industry, only black people who stay young are loved, and when we're not allowed to age, are we still ourselves? 6. Whitney Houston, the perfect woman is scary. Whitney Houston has been the standard of beauty for black women for nearly 3 decades, but that very perfection has left her with expectations that make her unable to breathe. Since the mid-90s, Whitney's face has changed dramatically. Her nose has become smaller, her eyelids have widened, her cheeks have become unnaturally full. Rumors of filler injections, nose jobs, and eyelid surgery have spread rapidly. "They told Whitney to be perfect, not to show fatigue," recalled a former record label employee. "Even when she was exhausted, the public was divided. She kept herself beautiful for us," some said. "But that's not the Whitney I cried for," whispered an anonymous plastic surgeon. "She didn't need to do anything," said one, "but she may have been forced." Whitney passed away in 2012, and people realized beauty took more than her aura. In a world that demands perfection, Whitney is a symbol of great sacrifice, and the price of not looking real is losing yourself. 5. Donna Summer, the disco queen with an unfamiliar face. Donna Summer is the voice of a generation. She was a disco icon, the soundtrack to every party in the 70s. But when the late 80s came, what surprised the public was not just the music that had changed, but her face. A stylist who worked on the music video for This Time I Know It's For Real said when she walked into the room, people stopped. Her cheeks were higher, her nose was smaller, and her chin was slimmer. She looked elegant, but she was no longer the Donna people loved. The rumors of surgery quickly spread, and the public reacted strongly. Some said she looked cold. Some said she was trying to follow the white pop wave. Donna did not confirm, but she did not deny. She kept quiet, continuing to perform. Someone once asked if she had not changed. Would she still be able to hold the stage? That question hung in the air, and no one answered. In the end, what remained was not her nose or her cheekbones, but a black woman who tried to please the world with her music and with her face. 4. Tina Turner, the strongest woman with a cut on her eyelid. Tina Turner is the epitome of resilience. She survived an abusive marriage, resurrected her career in her 40s, and took the stage like a warrior. But in a 1996 interview, she revealed something that shocked many. She had her eyelids lifted to look brighter on stage. A lighting assistant recalled, "Tina told me the lights aren't on my face the same way. I have to do something." After the minor surgery, her face became younger, but also more strange. The audience began to whisper. They couldn't understand, why would an icon like Tina need to change? A journalist wrote, "When even Tina needs to be fixed, who would dare to age publicly?" Her small story became a big example of the pressure on black women in the entertainment industry. Tina never complained, but it was that silence that made us love her even more. Because sometimes, a small cut on the eyelid is also the deepest cut into the self-esteem of a woman who has learned to fight all her life. 3. Michael Jackson, the man who changed his face because the world doesn't accept his real face. Michael Jackson is the greatest artist in the world, but he is also the most watched, analyzed, and dissected, especially his face. From a brown-skinned, round-nosed boy, Michael gradually transformed into an image whose race, age, or emotions could not be determined. Many people say that after a nose surgery due to a dance accident, Michael became addicted to editing. Once, a colleague said that Michael did not want anyone to see his face without makeup because it was not complete. The public called him a monster, and the media rumored that he was afraid of his skin. But few people talked about the pressure he had since childhood to be beautiful, to be bright, to be white, to be accepted globally. Did he regret it? There has never been a clear answer. But in his last interview, he said, "I never had a childhood, I only had expectations." His face was the product of talent trapped in the cage of global tastes. And perhaps, what hurts us is not that he has changed so much, but that no one loves him enough to protect that first face, when he was just a boy who wanted to sing and be loved. 2. Prince, the face that never belonged to any gender. Prince once amazed the world not only because of his music, but also because of his appearance that transcended all gender and ethnic boundaries. But behind the hazy purple lights, there were many changes that confused people. A stylist who worked with him revealed every year a new face: high cheeks, small nose, slim jaw. We were not asked. Prince's silence only made people talk more. Did he hate his black face? Or was he trying to turn himself into an icon that could not be measured by white standards? The public did not stop at being curious. They started judging. But Prince didn't explain. He left music alone, the only place where he didn't have to change himself. Maybe he never wanted to be someone else. He was just never allowed to be himself. 1. Janet Jackson, the girl no one recognizes anymore. Janet Jackson was once a symbol of softness and strength, but as the decades passed, Janet's face changed in mysterious ways. Her eyes widened, her nose became more slender, her chin became smaller. An anonymous stylist said, "Janet is the only one who never looked straight into a mirror before going on stage." She never confirmed anything, but every time she appeared, the audience was silent. An older fan said, "I still love that voice, but I don't recognize her anymore." The question always quietly surrounded Janet. Was the pressure of the Jackson name too great, or was it the audience that forced her to hide behind the edits? Janet still sang, still smiled, but that face was now like a mask, beautiful, cold, and distant. And perhaps the most heartbreaking thing is, the more beautiful she is, the more lonely she is. Behind every cosmetic cut is a sigh that no one hears. These artists don't change because they want to, but because they are forced to live in a mold that is not meant for them. We love them not because they are different, but because they once had to change themselves just to stand in the spotlight. We are grateful to you, the one who listened, not only with your ears, but with your heart. If you feel the beauty behind the changes, Leave your mark with a like, a comment, or send this video to someone you believe is also looking for understanding in a world full of prejudice.